All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Poetry Basics 101. We're going to go over why you should like poetry and different parts of poems and some different types of poems. And then we're even going to go over how to write your own and stuff. So hello, welcome everyone. So why you should listen to me and agree with me that poetry is the best thing. I'm a published poet. I have a book and I'm published in several anthologies as well. And I also did a thing where for like a year I wrote a poem a day, and I still write poetry very regularly. So I know what I'm talking about. I've done a lot of poetry. I also was in a poetry club all throughout high school. Yes, I like to, it's all about me. It's all about me. My book is As Viewed by a Poet Protagonist. So I will show a cover later. But I was in poetry club in high school and a little bit in middle school. I even ran the poetry club my senior year. So I've helped teach people about poetry before. I wrote one poem a day a year. It's my autistic special interest. I'm autistic. I'm obsessed with poems. Love poetry. Constantly doing poems. Constantly. Oh my gosh, you own my book on Kindle? Oh. Anyway, I'm very passionate about poetry. I will go on tangents as I'm sharing poem stuff about you because I love poetry so much. So like, I have rants about haikus and senryus and stuff particularly, and I've done tons of research. This is the cover of my poetry book, As Viewed by a Poet Protagonist by Shiloh Osheen. Yeah, someone should drop the book link. I'm busy doing this, but yes. Yeah. So that's why you should listen to me about this. I know what I'm talking about. Everyone should love poetry. Why should you care about poetry? Why? You'll get the haiku it takes, I promise. It's a form of an expression in art, and any kind of form of expression, yes, poetry rules 100%. Any form of art is so important. It's so important to be into. It's so important to look at. And then there's school. School teaches poetry so badly. I love poetry, but I hated the poetry units in school. I hated it. They teach it so badly. School sucks at teaching it. It deserves better. You deserve better. Poetry deserves better. School just sucks at it. If all you know about poetry is from your school, you don't know anything about poetry. It has been done poorly. I am so sorry for you. We're going to fix that today. Poetry can help you be more aware of the world. It can help you pay attention to things because poetry is in so many places. It helps you look for beauty in ordinary things. It can make doing laundry a magical experience. You can find unexpected poems in unexpected places. One of my favorite places to find poems is the Tumblr shitpost. So, if anyone wants to share some of their favorite like unexpected poems with like Tumblr shitposts, I'd love to hear it because Tumblr shitposts. Yes, the one about hope. Hope is a Yes, the one about hope. Oh gosh, I love that one. Like people are just like hope is a skill and a weapon, and oh, that one's so good. It's peak. 100%. I agree. Yep. Yes, hope is a weapon. Hope is a skill. Hope is a plant you can care for or kill. Hope is a discipline, something you choose, hard to stop looking for, easy to lose. Hope isn't something to have or to take. If you can't find it, it's something you make. Make it from willpower, make it from spite. Learn how to weaponize love in a fight. Hope is a shield and a thing to defend, an end in itself and a means to an end. It's so good. Shelley's essay in defense of poetry for a systemic outline of why poetry. Yep, that's another one. That's the good. Poetry is also connection with others. The hope one was written by multiple people. Multiple people were sharing parts of that hope. You can connect with others' emotions. You can kind of figure out how they think, how they work. It's just a really cool thing. So, what even is poetry? Like, what is it? I like to consider it emotion given form. It's just your emotions, and you kind of scatter them on a page. That's how I write my poems. It means that you take this feeling inside of you, something that's kind of burning inside of you, and you share it with the world. You create something tangible for other people to understand the feeling that you have inside. Yes, poetry is art. All art is good. Poetry is also metrical, metaphorical, magical. It uses a lot of metaphors, a lot of similes, a lot of kind of magical, semi-realistic language. Like it's like the opposite of literal. It's kind of fun. It's very full of imagery and just magic and storytelling and stuff. Yes, symbolism. Yes, thank you. That was the word I was looking for. So it's done in verse. It's a lot of times it's called verse. It gives you those feelings. It gives you those images. It really transports you in a way I think prose doesn't necessarily do. Like prose, you can go to a different place and time. Poetry, you go to an emotion. And I think that's pretty big. It might be in more places than you expect. The Tumblr shitpost, for example. All songs are poems, even 433 by John Crage, which is just 4 minutes and 33 seconds of silence. Yes, prose poems exist. That I actually have a list of some of my favorite poets at the end of this, and Ink Skinned on Tumblr writes prose poems, and I think they're some of the most beautiful poetry you can find. But I'm very biased, so the song 4-3 by John Cage is just 4 minutes and 33 seconds of silence, and even that's a poem. All songs are poetry. You can find poetry in a lot of unexpected places. Poetry can do some weird stuff. I like to think of the world as a poem. If you've seen that Tumblr post about the sticker stars painted over in landlord white, the world itself is a poem. The poem is there. You don't need to write it. It's right there. Although you should write it anyway. So let's get into the different parts of poetry. Oh, that's so cool. I love that your boyfriend writes. My boyfriend writes the most gorgeous poetry. And as an aspiring songwriter, I want to write pretty like he does. Just keep practicing. I bet you can write beautiful. Eulogistic threnody. Oh, that's so fun. That's so cute. I'm going to write him so many songs. Oh, you guys are making me happy. Anyway, so different parts of poetry. We're going to start with the different parts, and then we're going to talk about different types. So, verse. Verse is a kind of vague definition. You can use it for a whole poem. You can use it for a stanza of a poem, a verse of a song. It could be, it's not too particular. It's not going to be like super specific. If you say verse, poetry is so fun. It lets you put emotions down in a more visceral way. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so verse is very vague for it. But stanzas are basically the equivalent of a paragraph. They're made up of lines. They they can go, you can have a stanza that's a single line. You can have a stanza that's a dozen lines. They're basically the paragraph of a poem. A line that's when you press enter. It's the equivalent of a sentence, but it is very rarely actually a sentence. It's when you press enter. A poetic foot is a unit of rhythm. So you've probably heard about iambic pentameter. That is a type of poetic foot. That is a unit of rhythm. Then the rhyme scheme, it uses letters, A, B, C, D, E. And here's an example. This is taken from I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud by William Wordsworth. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. So you can see that cloud, crowd, is the A, hills, daffodils B, trees, breeze C. So it's just when words rhyme with each other. That's what the rhyme scheme is tracking. A B A B A B is a really common rhyme scheme. You know, there's all kinds of rhyme schemes, and just letters kind of track that. Oh, we have a poem just going up here. Some say I have a heart of gold, ablaze with inner fire, and few would say my heart is cold or lacking in desire. Yet the hardness of my heart is not a thing I try to hide. You see, my heart is forged of iron, as there's room for all inside. Oh, I love that. And to bring it back to what I just talked about, the rhyme scheme, that poem has a rhyme scheme of AABB, which is another really common rhyme scheme. So you might hear about stressed versus unstressed syllables, and that's just kind of where is the emphasis. uh, Rhyme patterns follow stressed versus unstressed syllables. Stressed is where the emphasis is in it. So emphasis naturally has a stressed syllable at the beginning, and the two syllables after that are unstressed. So the feet are in iambs, which are an unstressed, then stressed syllable. Trochee are the reverse of that, stressed then unstressed. Spondee, both syllables stressed. Anapest is 3 beats, 2 unstressed followed by a stress. Dactyl, 1 stressed followed by 2 unstressed. Amphibranch, stressed, unstressed, stressed. Pyrrhic is just 2 unstressed syllables. So some of the most common rhythms are iambic pentameter, trochaic tetrameter, dactylic hexameter. So the iambic pentameter, that's really common. It's 5 iambs. Trochaic tetrameter is 3 trochees. Dactylic hexameter is 6 dactyls. And then you get into different stanzas. You have a couplet. I can make I don't have an infographic available, but I can make one, and I also have a link to this whole slideshow. I'm kind of going quickly through that because the terms get super bogged down a bit, and unless you're writing a specific type that requires a specific rhythm, it's usually more pain than it's worth to keep all of this in mind. I usually pull up a reference myself for it. So stanzas, you can have a couplet, which is 2 lines, a tercet, which is 3 lines, quatrain 4, cintrain is 5, a sestet is 6, a heptastitch stitch is 7, and an octave is 8, and you just 7, 8, you just follow. It's easy. The stanza names have a pattern to them. You can go much longer than an octave. Yes, the 6/7 means 6/7. Yes, an octave is something that's in the music as well. All songs are poems. So now that we've gotten some basic parts of poetry, let's talk about the haiku and senryu. My personal favorite. I love these things. The general rule is 5/7/5. 1 line of 5 syllables, 1 line of 7 syllables, 1 line of 5 syllables. Japanese is a syllabic language. So instead of things being based off of letters, they're based off of syllables. So like ha, he, hu, he, ho. Those are all characters in Japanese. Those are all building blocks of the language rather than letters. Japanese also has kanji, which is multiple syllables. It's a whole word. Sometimes it's 1 syllable, but kanji is usually a whole word. And so you can't write a haiku in English technically because Japanese doesn't even follow the 5/7/5 syllables. It follows the 5/7/5 characters. And you can't really mimic that in English. So you can't technically write a haiku in English, but we do our best. The key thing with the haiku is that it's a fragment and then a metaphor and image, and I'll give you some examples of that. But basically, you have at the first or last line, you kind of have a fragment relating to the other two lines that form kind of an image, like a snapshot. The difference between haiku and senryu is primarily that haiku is a snapshot of nature. You're looking at the natural world. You're looking at a leaf falling on a water. You're looking at a flower blooming. It tends to be very serious, very beautiful, very somber, absolutely beautiful poem type. Senryu is a view of human nature. So you're focused more on humans. You're looking at people talking at a cafe, a man with keys in his pocket, that kind of thing. It tends to be more political, satiric, kind of funny sometimes. That's senryu. Are y'all ready for the haiku rant? Haikus are easy, but sometimes they don't make sense. Refrigerator. This is not a haiku. Everyone says it is and is like, this is the quintessential haiku. That is not a haiku. It's not a haiku. It does not qualify as a haiku. It doesn't even qualify as the English pretend haiku. It could be argued that it's a senryu. I don't think it is. It doesn't really focus on human nature. It's kind of nonsensical in a way that haiku and senryu are not. There's no view or image. You're not taking a snapshot of a scene. You're not showing anything. Where is the metaphor in it? Like, metaphor is so big for haiku. There's just, where's the metaphor? There's no metaphor. It's just kind of blunt. It's like a statement. It's too straightforward. It does not work. I don't like it. It is not a haiku. So what if the snapshot is the tendency of people towards absurdity and humors? No, it's not a haiku. So I wrote a couple of haikus for this, a haiku and a senryu, and then I also have a haiku written by a Japanese individual that I actually translated by myself, and I'm very proud of that. But here are some examples of what I'm talking about. This is a haiku. Petals twist and dance, floating memories through air. Spring arrives at last. And here's a senryu. The man hurries off, pretending his importance. Behind him, his keys. So very clear imagery, I hope. But here is a poem by Yosa Busan. I did my best to translate it. I know a little bit of Japanese. I worked very hard on translating this to make it look nice in English. Canola flowers, the moon in the eastern sky, the sun in the west. I think that would be a senryu. Good job, Xylanth. A swipe like lightning, fresh sprays blood like a fresh spring. He fucked up my nails from Coral, and Xylanth did. The passionate cat, on all subjects poetic, has thoughts on haikus. Beautiful. Anyway, the canola flowers is from Yosa Busan, who was a very famous poet in Edo, Japan. So that's about 1700s in Japan. And he actually preferred doing art, but he did like kind of more art that wasn't popular. So to make money, so he could keep doing the visual art that he did, the cut prints that he did, he wrote haikus. So that's a fun fact about Yosa Busan, who wrote about canola flowers. And I think it's a lovely haiku. And yeah. Now, if you know haiku well, you know that you can kind of break the rules. The 575 is a guideline. If you do 475, if you do 565, that's okay. Even 585 is fine. You can break the rules a little bit, but 575 is what you should generally be aiming for when mimicking it. Next up is limericks. I don't really like limericks, but no poetry presentation would be complete without limericks. It's a short poem of 5 lines. It tends to be funny and amusing and satirical. Yeah, I know there's some people who love limericks, however you pronounce it. The rhyme scheme is AABBA. So the first 2 and the last line rhymes, and then the 3rd and 4th line rhymes with each other. Now I know what I'm going to write to gently annoy my husband. Beautiful. Yes. Dodek, bringing back to haikus, syllables are kind of variable when it comes to different accents, etc. Yep. Yep, that's very much. Anyway, so limericks, rhyme scheme AABBA. You have 2 long lines, 2 short lines, followed by a long line. The last line is the punchline. A limerick is a joke. It's just a joke. It's funny. It's a joke. There's a famous limerick called "There Was a Young Man of Nantucket." You've probably heard the lewd versions of it. I can't share those with you because this is an all ages panel. So instead, I'm going to share the first instance ever recorded of "There Was a Young Man from Nantucket" from the Pearl magazine in 1879. There was a young man of Nantucket who went down a well in a bucket. The last words he spoke before the rope broke were, "Arsehole, you bugger, and suck it." That would probably sound much better if I had like a Cockney accent or something, but unfortunately, I'm just a foolish American. So, but yes, there was a young limericks can also be very lewd. I'm sure you've heard the lewd versions of the Man of Nantucket limerick. You are free to look those up in your own time. So, or Aussie would do. Yes, yes. Moving on from limericks is the sonnet. There are 14 lines in iambic pentameter generally. So penta is 5, so it's 5 pairs of unstressed, then stressed syllables. There are multiple types of sonnet, each with their particular rhyming schemes, so they all have different rhymes. Speaking as someone who used to be in a sea shanty band, limericks are a common structure for folk music. Yes, they are absolutely. Good job. There are basically 3 types of sonnets: English, Italian, and French. The French sonnet is just a different version of the Italian sonnet, so we don't care about it that much. I'm gonna go over it and it'll be... Yes. Oh my gosh, yeah, sonnets are miserable. So the French sonnet has notably 12 syllables per line instead of 14 syllables per line. So I woke up on my first official standard human day. I brushed my teeth and showered in that standard human way, ate a standard human breakfast for some standard human fare, wore some standard human clothing for some standard human wear, did a standard human job at a standard human pace, gave a standard human goodbye with my standard human face, made a standard human entrance to my standard human home, stood in standard human posture in my hallway all alone, felt a weight heavy and writhing on my standard human chest that I tried to just ignore to be my standard human best. Yet I recoiled at the horror as I was forced to recall I'd be the least standard of humans with no oddities at all. Huh. I like that. I think that is a sonnet. I would have to like dig into it to say if it was actually a sonnet, but that looks like a sonnet. I have a question for you all. When you think of sonnets, is there a particular author you think of? Scary a day. There once was a man from Peru whose haikus and limericks confused. Beautiful. Yeah. Shakespeare. Shakespeare's what everyone thinks of. Yeah. Good job, everyone. So speaking of Shakespeare, we're going to start with Shakespearean sonnets, and then we'll look at Italian sonnets. It's also called an English sonnet or an Elizabethan sonnet. You'll never guess when and where these types of sonnets were popular. You'll never guess. These English, Elizabethan, Shakespearean sonnets, you'll never guess. Total mystery, I know. So Shakespeare, his sonnets were private. He did end up publishing them, like he agreed to have them published, but they were originally intended to be private. He was not the most prolific writer. He wasn't even the most talented sonnet writer. He's just the most famous. Other people had way more. He is also known to have written letters about how much he hated writing sonnets. So if you hate sonnets, you're not alone in hating them. Shakespeare hated writing them. The format of a sonnet is 3 quatrains and a couplet. So that's three stanzas of 4 lines and a couplet. So a stanza of 2 lines. The rhyme scheme is A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F. So every other rhyme. It costs $0 to simply not write sonnets. And yet, if you feel compelled, you must. There's 10 syllables per line. Shakespearean sonnet number 3. Look in thy glass, and tell the face thou viewest. Now's the time that face should form another, whose fresh repair, if now thou not renewest, thou dost beguile the world, unbless some mother. For where is she so fair whose uneared womb disdains the tillage of thy husbandry? Or who is he so fond will be thy tomb of his self-love to stop posterity? Thou art thy mother's glass, and she in thee calls back the lovely April of her prime. So thou through windows of thine age shall see, despite of wrinkles, this thy golden time. But if thou live, remember not to be, die single, and thine image dies with thee. Sonnet is the correct format for something because sonnets are beautiful. Sometimes the only thing worse than writing is not writing. Yep. If Shakespeare wasn't the best at sonnets, who was? I actually don't know. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I do know that there were writers who were at the time considered to be better than he was. He was actually not a super popular sonnet writer. His plays were popular with the common people, but sonnets were tended to be more high society considered. And so he was not very popular with his sonnets. So because his sonnets and his plays tended to be more aligned with like common people, sonnets were considered high society. He was not considered the best writer, especially because he kept his sonnets private for years. I like Shakespeare sonnet number 3 because he is basically saying to a guy, please don't get married, please stay single. There is an implication of queerness there. So it's very interesting. Looking at Shakespeare's life and his history and stuff like that, you get a lot of really interesting information. Like, he was debatably queer. We don't know that much about him, but what we do know is just super fascinating. And if you have time, I definitely recommend looking up Shakespeare and reading about him because there's just a lot of interesting stuff about him. And if you write poems, if you've ever written a sonnet, you've run into Shakespeare before. So yeah, he really is a fascinating guy. The next type of sonnet we're going to look at is Italian sonnets. We're not going to bother with French sonnets today. It's too similar to Italian. They're also called Petrarchan sonnets because they were popularized by Francesco Petrarca. So originally written in Italian. So yeah, translating things is so hard, especially when it's poetry. Yeah, when I was, Calixa says, when I was younger, I used to dislike Shakespeare because it felt so predictable. But then I realized it's because so much written stuff after him took inspiration from him. Absolutely, yes. Yes, it's really cool to see. So the format of an Italian sonnet is you have an octave, so you have 8 lines. Then you have a volta, a change of tone. And this demarcates the 2 parts of the poem. And after the octave is a sestet. So the poem has, so an Italian sonnet built into it is kind of this change of tone, this change of emotion, this volta, this turn. There is no closing couplet, unlike in the English sonnet. The rhyme scheme is A, B, B, A, B, B, A, and then C, D, E, C, D, E. Rhyme schemes are so useful, but if you haven't done a lot with them, they take a little bit to get used to. So if you're not following the rhyme scheme, don't worry about it. I will have the links to this after I'm done. So you can also do an alternative where you don't have the E rhyme in the sestet. You can have CD, CD, CD. It's 10 or 11 syllables per line. You don't have to be exact. You need 10 or 11. And here is a Italian sonnet by Thomas Wyatt. Whoso list to hunt, I know where is an hind, but as for me, Hellas, I may no more. The vain travail hath wearied me so sore. I am of them that farthest cometh behind. Yet may I by no means my wearied mind draw from the deer, but as she fleeth afore, fainting I follow. I leave off therefore, since in a net I seek to hold the wind. Who list her hunt, I put him out of doubt. As well as I may spend his time in vain, and graven with diamonds in letters plain, there is written her fair neck round about, Noli me tangere, for Caesar's I am, and wild for to hold, though I seem tame. So if you see about fainting I follow, I leave off therefore, since in a net I seek to hold the wind, that's where the turn is, the volta is, and it becomes, I am a hunter, I have hunted. It turns around to, I am the deer, I am the one who's being hunted. So I really enjoy Italian sonnets. I wish they were more popular in English because I really like the scheme. Yeah, it is. It is a really cool poem. Next, we're going to go to another one of my favorite types of poems, a villanelle. They are 19 lines, 5 tercets and a quatrain, so 5 3-line stanzas followed by a 4-line stanza. The rhyme scheme is A1, B, A2, A, B, A1, A, B, A2, A, B, A1, A, B, A2, A, B, A1, A2. And the A1 and A2 are repeating lines. So they're the same line you repeat multiple times. There's a big focus on repetition with the villanelle. They do a lot of repetition. It usually is really good if you have one overarching theme you want to just kind of hammer down. Added algebra to poetry since I graduated. It's just a way to remember that you have the repeating line. The most famous villanelle, me in my bad girl era, hell yeah. Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night by Dylan Thomas is probably the most famous villanelle. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning, they do not go gentle into that good night. Good men, the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight, and learned too late they grieved it on its way. Do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men, near death, who see with blinding sight. Blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on the sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Dylan Thomas wrote this about his dying father, and it was a way for him to cope with that grief. And I think that's beautiful. I love villanelles. I think they're lovely. Putting that one in my pocket and running away with it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's a good one. It speaks to a lot of people. That's why it became so famous. Next up is free verse. This is my personal favorite. This is what I write the most. I write it all the time. It's free verse. It's poetry. It's you can do whatever here. This is the do whatever you want. There are no rules. There's multiple subtypes of free verse. For example, you can have a rhymed free verse or an unrhymed free verse. You don't have to rhyme. Do whatever you want forever. Everything that isn't free verse is overrated. How dare you say that about my beloved haikus and villanelles? How dare you? There's slam poetry, which I'll actually talk about on its own slide a little bit later because I think it's cool. It can get a little funky. For example, this is a poem by E.E. Cummings. I don't know how to read that. If you know how to read that, feel free, but that's a poem by E.E. Cummings. That's what you can write with free verse. You can do funky stuff. You don't have to make sense. Do what you want forever. Now, slam poetry is, yeah, I love E.E. Cummings. I think his poems are great. I love their esotericness. They're fantastic. Slam poetry is a specific Slam poetry is a specific type of free verse. Yes, I love E. Cummings. He plays with visualing words a lot. Yes, he does. Slam poetry is also called spoken word poetry. The slam poetry is technically a competition of spoken word poetry. Lots of people tend to use it interchangeably these days. The competition was invented in 1984 by Mark Smith. Spoken word poems are meant to be performed aloud. They use the poet's energy. It's kind of like somewhere between a song and a poem, because they're meant to be performances the way a song is, and they use the poet's energy, but they're still a poem. Like, they're not a song. Yeah, like what people do at bar poetry nights. That's slam poetry, that's spoken word poetry. It has very heavy ties to the Black community in the US and Mexico and North and South America. Particularly the Negritude movement from French-speaking Caribbean and African colonies in the 1930s, and it's inspired by the American Black Harlem movement as well. Yes. Yes. Yeah, it's very important to the Black community. This was how a lot of people were able to have their history shared still and stuff. Yes, yes. These were big deals for the Black community to have it, and this is where spoken word poetry comes from. So the French-speaking Caribbean and African colonies, and they're in the Negritude movement in the 1930s. There's a channel called Button Poetry, and they highlight poets from competitive slams on YouTube. I've watched several of those. They're always a good time. They always look lovely. I think slam poetry is great. I think spoken word poetry is beautiful. Yes. Thank you for highlighting the Black origins of spoken word. I would be doing a disservice if I didn't, because this is where it came from, right? Spoken word poetry would not exist if not for the Black community. Yes, people don't realize that rapping is a form of spoken word poetry. Yes, it is. So much of our music and so much of our words and sound and culture is from the Black community. I think it's a disservice to not mention them when you're talking about this stuff. So, take care, eat good food. Rap is poetry. Absolutely. I think all songs are poems, and I think it's a disservice to not say that rap is poems and not say. I hate the idea that people who rap aren't talented or lack talent in some way, because that's such a bullshit idea. Because rappers are so good at so many things. They have to be good lyricists. They have to not stumble over the words. I couldn't rap. Are you kidding me? Have you heard how many times I've said or stumbled over words in this presentation? I couldn't do that. People just love being racist. Oh man, true. Anyway, these are just a few of the types of poetry. There are so many types. And if you're a native non-English speaker, what are some poetry types that are exclusive to your language? I'd love to hear about that. Kendrick Lamar literally has a Pulitzer. Yeah. It's absolutely. Do we have any native non-English speakers here? Because I'd love to hear about some poetry types that are, I guess, similar to haiku and senryu, in that you have to kind of make an adjustment to do them in English. And in general, how would you adapt the rules of poetry intended for one language to another? That's something to think about too, because this is something translators do when they translate poetry, is they have to figure out how to make a poem make sense in both languages. That's so hard. Being a translator is so hard, and translating poems is just difficult. It's so hard. Some other really quick listing, some other types of poems. There's acrostics, ballads, odes, monorhymes, epics. There's all kinds of poems. You can look up different poems, because I think there's so many types of poems. There's non-traditional types as well that have been invented in the last few decades, that you don't really hear about because they were invented and they just didn't pick up steam or whatever, but there's a ton of cool types of poems. There's a website called Shadow Poetry. A link is in this A link is in this slideshow, and I will be linking this slideshow for all of you after this panel. So you'll be able to look at the slideshow at your own pace and like review things and stuff like that. So don't worry about that. So yeah, there's a ton of types. There's a lot that I don't know about because I'm an English speaker and I'm American, and I did my best with researching all of this to just find all kinds of different stuff, but Song of the Dragonborn. Oh yeah, because that was written in the Dovahkiin language from Skyrim, right? Am I thinking of the right thing? Anyway, 200 years of sonnets in France. Rip. Lydia the Bard's so-called fey rap really blurs the lines between spoken word and rap, like a missing link of sorts. That's really cool. Rip to the French, 200 years of sonnet. Beautiful. So, I want all of you to start writing poetry. So I'm going to kind of go over a method you can use to write poetry because I want you to write poetry. First, you want to plan the poem. You want to kind of figure it out. You don't have to do super in-depth plans. The most important thing is you choose a topic that is meaningful to you. What do you want to write about? What do you want other people to get at? How are you going to write about it? Is there a specific form you want to use? Just like Villanelle, do you want to write a sonnet? Do you want to write a sonnet? To the tune of do you want to build a snowman? Do you want to write a sonnet? Anyway, what kind of feeling do you want to evoke in people? Like what feeling does this topic invoke in you? That might help you figure out the specific form, the specific type of poem you're going to write. Or if it's just a free verse and you just do whatever. Is it a personal kind of topic? Is it political? Is it funny? Is it great for limericks? Tejezem made a poetry share thread. That's cool. The French got better from Dodek, currently in a class that spent several weeks on late 19th, early 20th century French experimental poetry. I had sonnets ruined for me, and I kind of want to give one a try. Then you want to find the meaningful words for your poem, like what rhymes and repetitions. So like for Villanelle, what is the big focus theme? Because that's going to be the lines you have go over and over again. What words are rhyming? Because those are going to stand out in people's minds. What kind of big concepts are you looking for? Are you looking to tie this whatever topic it is to a specific thing? Like if your topic is, I don't know, being alter human. Ancient Middle Egyptian is funky with that. So Jezam. Is that correct? Jezem made a poetry share thread, so you can all share your poems there. Perfect. Fantastic. If you have a topic about being alter human, maybe you want to focus on your kin type with that, and you tie it back into your kin type. So, yeah. What feeling do you want to invoke? How do you feel about it? And how do you want to make someone else feel about it? If you're writing a topic about being an alter human, do you want to make someone feel nostalgic, or do you want to make them feel excited and encouraged? That kind of stuff. That's kind of what you do for planning. Then you start to write it down. You got to write the poem to write the poem. It doesn't just appear. You got to actually put it down on paper. So template it. If you have, I know, right? The audacity that you have to actually write it for it to exist. Terrible. We'll never not be over that. So if you're templating the poem, if you're going to write a Villanelle, it's probably a good idea to do your A, B, A and write all of that out and write your number of, if you have a rhyme scheme, if you're doing a specific type, incredibly rude of the poem to not swing fully formed for one school like Athena. I know, right? I have to do a thing to do it. How dare you? Oh, you guys are great. Great audience. Oh, on itch.io, there are a lot of people experimenting with writing poetry with interactive and multimedia elements. For example, one where parts of the poem disappear while you read it, or where you have to click to reveal each next part of the poem, or where parts of it appear in different colors. Yeah, I have actually written a poem, an interactive poem on itch.io. So, you know, if you have a specific rhyme scheme, if you're doing a specific format, template it. This will help you. Twine is really good for interactive poem making. Yep, yes. I can recommend Twine. If you're making an interactive poem, use Twine. If you have a rhyme scheme, write out A, B, C, D, C, whatever rhyme scheme you have. If there's a specific number of stanzas, number the lines so you can track where you are as you write this poem. It helps you, I promise. If you're writing free verse and just doing whatever you want forever, you don't need to do this. But if you are doing a specific type of poem, templating your poem like this is life-saving. It has helped me so much. Then you begin making a draft. Pull out your thesaurus. Pull out your thesaurus. You don't want to overuse the thesaurus, but if you want a specific word or specific theme, have your thesaurus ready to go, open it up, and find something that will rhyme. Word art is an actual type of poem brought up by Alabaster Albatross. Bit late to comment on, but the whole leaf image one reminds me of that one word art of a wooded landscape on Tumblr. That's a poem to me. Calixa asks, what's the name for a poem where some of the lines are right justified instead of left, and you can read the right side altogether for a new subpoem? Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't know the particular name for that, but that is absolutely a type of poem. I think that's actually one of the newer types of poems. Like, it's not as old as some of the other poetry types we went over. I love it. I'm not sure if it has a name or not. I'll have to look that up. Anyway, thesauruses help with rhyming words. There's also something called the Rhyme Zone Dictionary, which I use all the time. You put in a word, and it comes up with words that rhyme with that word. It's so useful when you're writing a rhyming poem because you can have like a list of words to make sure your rhymes are correct. It's great. It's fantastic. Rhyme Zone Dictionary. Use whatever resources you have. If you have a smartphone, you have a computer in your pocket, use whatever resources you have. Make life easier on yourself. That's my make life easier on yourself. So after you write a poem, if you get lost, if you get kind of bogged down in the weeds, if you're busy trying to find rhymes, go back to your topic. Go back to your big overarching topic. Go back to your big overarching idea. Go ahead and focus on that. Now, once you've written a poem, you know what comes next? You get to edit it. Yay. So this is a poem I wrote specifically for this presentation. Holding tight to dreams while clinging to my fate, unraveling at the seams, I become what I create. Write and rewrite. All decisions with poetry are intentional. With prose, you kind of have to stick to grammatical rules. Like, you can break them a little bit here and there, but for the most part, you have to stick to the rules of grammar. With poems, you don't have to do that. You can intentionally misspell a word, and that's going to have a meaning to it. Oh, Alabaster Albatross found the word poem that it mentioned when it was talking about the E.E. Cummings poem. So that's cool. That's neat. Anyway, with a poem, you can misspell a word, and there's meaning for that. You can use all kinds of different stuff with it. Your punctuation, your spacing. If you decide to subtract a space and put two words together, that has meaning. That changes the meaning of your poem. If you add or remove a comma, that changes a poem. You may get annoyed. I don't want to talk about how many times I've edited the poem that I wrote as an example for this, because I kept changing it and I was not happy with it. I can pound out a good haiku that I'm happy with in 5 minutes, like max. I don't know why this one was so hard for me, but if you get annoyed while you're editing your poetry or writing your poetry, That's normal. You're normal. Yes, you can do line breaks anywhere you want. You can do that to put emphasis anywhere, and you should. Go forth. No rules. Yes. Yes. Oscar Wilde once said, I was working on the proof of one of my poems all in the morning and took out a comma. In the afternoon, well, I put it back again. Editing poetry is just like that sometimes. If you've edited any writing, you know, it can be the most irritating thing in the world. But also, I have a lot of poems that I just write once, check for typos, and then I'm done with them. So not all poems are miserable messes of editing. Sometimes you're just like, great, this is perfect. I wrote it amazing the first try. I did good. And then sometimes you're editing a 4-line poem 8 million times because you're unhappy with it. And I'm still not happy with that. I still want to fiddle with that. I'm just like, it's not right. So that's poetry for you. So before we finish this presentation, I want to talk about some poets to look at. I looked really hard to find specifically ultra-human poetry, and I really struggled to find any. I looked all over the place to find links and different people. It sounds, I'm obviously an ultra-human poet, and it sounds like there's several ultra-human poets in chat. If any of you know about ultra-human poets, please share. I looked really hard and I struggled to find them. I don't know if my Google Foo is lacking or what. Sounds like we need to make more. Yes, go write poetry. But here are some of my favorite poets. Ink Skinned on Tumblr. We mentioned her earlier. Why should essays dominate ultra-human written culture? Exactly, write poems. Ink Skinned writes poetry. I think her poems are beautiful. I love reading her stuff. I follow her. Every time I see her poems on my dashboard, I get so excited because she's so talented. Then there's the classical poets, William Wordsworth, Henry Longfellow, Robert Frost. My personal favorite classical poet is Emily Dickinson. There are a lot of ultra-human poems. Some are in inky paws. Yes, inky paws, the Zine. Yes, that has poems in it. I have noticed that. I just struggled to find links to stuff. So I don't know if that was my Google Foo or anything else like that. Anyway, my personal favorite classical poet is Emily Dickinson. I love her. Misha Collins from Supernatural. He writes poetry. He has a poetry book. His poems are decent. I don't think they're fantastic or mind-blowing, but yes, Misha fucking Collins from Supernatural writes poetry, and they're good. They're good poems. I know, I was shocked. Castiel writes poetry, and it's good. Like, I've read better poems, but they're good. They're decent. I know. That's how I felt when I saw his poetry book and I read it. Is there such a thing as a bad poem? And if so, how do I know before sharing it? So that's kind of complicated. I think if you try and write a poem in a certain form and you just utterly fail at it, I think that's a bad poem just because like the formats have stuff. But if you're just writing a poem, I don't think there's really such a thing as a bad poem because free verse is a thing that exists. If E. Cummings can do away with half the bullcrap he can get away with, you can write a poem and it won't be bad. You're fine. It's good. You're good. If you're going to write in a specific format, definitely do your best to follow that format. So a good poem is a poem you enjoyed writing. I like that. Good job, Gilman. I agree. Good job. There's also current poet laureates. The U.S. poet laureate from 2025 was Ada Limon. I don't know what 2026 is. Most U.S. states have a poet laureate as well. The UK poet laureate is Simon Armitage as of May 10th, 2019. So lots of other countries have poet laureates. This is just what I found quickly in like 5 minutes of Googling. I didn't want to have to list out every country's poet laureate because there's like 250 something countries. Bad is subjective and you'll never please, everyone, if it means something to you, that's enough. Best thing I've ever seen about poetry was something like 90% of poetry is bullshit, but the remaining 10% will cut you like a knife, and that 10% is different for every person. Me looking at a poem that's been giving me strife. Bad poem, bad. Yes, these are all valid, these are all good. You know, it's hard to decide what poems are bad because poetry is so subjective, and I think that's part of the beauty of it. Brandon Leak is a Black man who won America's Got Talent in 2020 for his spoken word poetry. So definitely look him up on YouTube. He has some fantastic poetry going on. So he won America's Got Talent, like incredible. So Lana Del Rey has spoken poetry albums. If you like her music, you'll probably like her spoken poetry. And then look for local writers in your country and your native language and who are around you. Yeah, Lana Del Rey has spoken poetry albums, so it's very cool. Lana Del Rey suffers from very severe depression and possibly other things that she hasn't disclosed, so it's none of our business. But with the severe depression, she's written a lot of stuff, and I think that's cool. I think it's cool that that's a way she's used to cope. Calixa says about Rowan's quote about best thing I've ever seen about poetry was, I feel like that in itself is almost poetry because of the way it implies the first part of the sentence is false. I really, really love that. I love that thought. That is exactly how you should be looking at the world. You are all poets. I am so proud of all of you. And that is my presentation. So I will get that link sent for everyone. But thank you so much for coming. Now, you may notice there is a part 2 to this tomorrow. I want you guys to work. I want to put you guys to work. I want you guys to write a poem. And tomorrow, if you have a poem, whether you wrote that today or you wrote that earlier, I would love to have you guys share. That's what the part 2 for this is we get to share our poetry. I humbly push forward great Australian bush poet Banjo Patterson, especially his world-famous Man from Snowy River, for an example of breathtakingly paced epic poetry. New poem needed on my cat getting tangled in her fake bird catcher toy the entire panel over and over. I hope to see all of you with a poem tomorrow. My cat in my lap is already a poem on its own. You are correct. Oh, Onion liked the panel. That makes me so. I've been cat approved. I've been cat approved. I will be writing a poem. Ideally, I'd like our poems to focus on alter humanity, since this is an alter human convention. But if they don't, then that's fine. Just write a poem, bring it here tomorrow to share with us, because this is going to be the part 2 of the presentation where we all share our poetry. There's going to be hella content warnings on the poem I've got brewing. Try to write a poem in my native language and try to translate it. Echoes of Hope, if you do that, I would love you forever. Please, please do that. Oh my gosh, I would love you forever. Please. For content warnings, also try... I gotta bully my poet system into writing something. Yes, please do. For content warnings, try to keep it all ages. So if cussing is fine and darker topics are fine, but like... don't get super deep into stuff. This is an all ages panel, so there might be a 13-year-old running around here. So just keep that in mind. Same, the poet system mate is me. I know, right? I am so excited to see you all tomorrow with your poems. I've gone a little bit over time. I was gonna have, like, if anyone had questions at the end, I was gonna answer those, but I've gone over time because of the technical difficulties, so. I've actually had one of my poems translated to Mandarin Hanzi in handwritten calligraphy. That's so cool. That is the coolest thing. All right. I will share the panel for everyone to be able... Nisha says I can take a couple of questions. So if anyone has questions, there's plenty of time till the next event. Fantastic. So if anyone has questions... It is unfortunate that I don't remember most things I did in secondary school. There's this poem I wrote for English about my want to climb trees, and in the third verse, I wrote about how I stopped climbing trees, and it ended something along the lines of, "But poet, poet, what did you do to pass the time?" Well, you're reading this poem, right? And I want to remember the rest of that. Oh, that's cool. What's your favorite poem overall? Invictus. Invictus is my favorite poem. Uh, I can never remember the author. It's one of those three named man authors, but Invictus. I do you have a most hated poem? Uh, not really. I have some poems I dislike, but I don't really hate poems. It's not in me to hate them. I'm like William Ernest Henley was the writer of Invictus. You might want to drop questions in panel questions. Most overrated poem, the freaking refrigerator haiku poem. I hate. Okay, I do hate a poem. I hate the refrigerator haiku poem. I hate that one. It's most overrated. It's hated. It's horrible. Worst poem to ever be written. Hate it. So it's not a haiku. It's not a haiku. Yes. Yes. No hatred. Refrigerator poem. No hatred. My favorite poem of all time, Light, I Wish I Still Had It, was written by one of the people in the poetry workshop we were in. It was a poem about the speaker talking a friend down from suicide, and it was very focused on the word and they do this, and this, and this, and end with, but you're cold and I'm tired, and then something I've forgotten, but the final line was and. Whoa. Big fan of Fire and Ice by Robert Frost and Galway Kinnell Blackberry Eating. At the next panel, could we maybe end it by writing a poem collaboratively? That sounds very cool. That is not what I planned, and I'm not sure how time will go. If everyone shared their poems and we have spare time, I am absolutely down for that. It's my new IQ. Not the right, so no, but it's fine. uh, oh gosh, you guys have been such a joy to present for. Yeah, writing a collaborative poem would be hard under it. A meme can be not all memes are poems, but poems can be memes. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Noah's Nameless Wife takes inventory, and both of those cat poems that were going around Tumblr are favorites. The It would be a poem about soup. Soup is great. People should write more poems about soup. Potential topic for your poem. Your enthusiasm fueled this. Thank you. I love poetry. I'm kind of obsessed with it. I like that one about the tiger that like a kid wrote. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it's so simple. I like it. The tiger is out. Yes, yes, yeah. Uh, I am so glad this panel was a hit. Like literally, I was when I was in the. I have a tat semi in honor of that poem. If a poem inspires you to get a tattoo, that is so valid. That is so good. Yes, the Bill Fee poems. Remember that one amazing Alter Human poem, Monstrous or something like that? I don't think I've ever seen that poem in particular. There was a cat. Long ago, there was a cat who swallowed a ball of yarn, and when the cat had kittens, they all had sweaters on. Oh, I love that. Oh, the werewolf non binary poem. Yes, I love that. I've been struggling to keep my phone on that last 1% because I can't stop interacting. Go charge your phone. Yeah. I the Penguin Grimm user, the owner of Belfie, has like a little poetry booklet about Belfie, and like I want to get that so bad. You guys are some of the best. This is fantastic. I'm gonna go ahead and close my stop streaming so I can focus on getting the link to the whatchamacallit, the slideshow. Oh, my brain is so bad. I have dropped the link to the poetry presentation in the panel questions. So in panel questions as well, relevant to the topic of the poetry panel, it seems that general techniques for translating poetry are a subject of active research, which is yes. And it's possible that I may have found the name of the right justified poems with embedded vertical subpoems. So that's cool. My cat is sad. No one else in his family is a cat. We are all human except for him. He is excluded from most things, and no one tells him why. He just wants to play and be loved. He looks at us with wonder and disappointment. He says, "Hello, I'm a cat. What is my existence? What is that? Why it and not me? Please, can you look at me and love me too? Can I have some of your food, please? I'm sorry I don't like my food so much. Do you want to play with my toys? This one is my favorite. Do you like me? Are we brothers? Why didn't I grow up? Why am I so small? Can you help me be happy? Where are you going?" Oh, that one's precious. Yes. I love faux instant messaging, social media poetry, fiction writing. It's so good. I don't know the particular name. Oh, the Minecraft end poem. That's another one. Oh, that's another good one. The grass told the hills and the field told the flowers, the folly of man and that seated in power. Briars told branches and leaves told the trees. It takes one song to break rich knees. I like that. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and end the panel because it's gone over time and it's been a while, and I think I think it's time to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for attending. Thank you so much for participating and for being such a great audience. And I will see you all tomorrow because I hope you'll all write poems for it. Yes, thank you so much. Y'all have a great time.